Captain Josh here to tell you about my whales. Here in Alaska, we have over 20,000 humpback whales in the North Pacific that come here to feed every summer. It's been a long journey for them from their tropical winter breeding grounds of Mexico and Hawaii, and they're eager to get back and feed. These whales usually are between 40 and 50 feet long, and at the end of a summer of feeding, they can be more than 40 tons. But when they first return to Alaska in the spring, they weigh a lot less. The adult whales do not feed during their 6,000-mile, 3 to 5 month long migration to warmer waters and back, and so when they do arrive up here in Alaska, they are quite lean, having lost up to a third of their body weight. For mother whales that have calved over the winter, that can be over 20,000 pounds. The calves, on the other hand, which were born in the tropics, have been well fed all this time on their mother's milk, and so as you can see, they are visibly rounder and fatter than their mothers are. The primary food sources for these whales here in Alaska are small schooling fish called herring and small shrimp-like creatures known as krill. Herring are one of the keystone species of the sea up here. Everything eats them, from salmon, cod, and halibut to sea lions, seals, birds, porpoises, and, of course, humpback whales. They form huge dense shoals that can have millions of fish in them and live from the surface to depths over 1,300 feet deep. During the day, they typically swim a lot deeper, but at night they travel towards the surface to feed on plankton. During the early spring, they travel into bays and other shallow areas to spawn, but the rest of the year they are typically found in deeper waters. Fast, agile fish, they can be challenging to catch, but the reward is a high-calorie bonanza. Each herring in a school has as many calories or more than a Big Mac. Early in the year, when the adult herring are in the shallower waters laying their eggs and are more accessible, they are targeted by the whales and other creatures. But by mid-July, the fast-growing baby herring have grown large enough to be worth pursuing, so some of the whales change their strategies to target them, as adult herring are always hard to catch, but the juveniles make easy targets. Krill, on the other hand, are a step down the food chain from herring, but that doesn't bother the whales. While they are usually less than an inch long, they are very nutrient-rich and at times extremely abundant. Typically, here in southeast Alaska, they are found more than 300 feet down, but sometimes tides and currents bring them to the surface where they can form schools so thick we can spot them with a drone. When this happens, the whales are usually not too far behind. On this bright and sunny day, deep-water currents and exceptionally strong tidal exchanges have pushed what normally is deep-water krill right up against the surface near Pleasant Island. While the whales do dive down to feed where the krill normally lives, when it's all pushed against the surface like this, it takes them much less effort to catch the krill, which is a situation the whales are happy to exploit. You can see where the light-colored surface water from Glacier Bay is sitting right next to the darker, clearer, deep water current that brought the krill to the surface. The whales feed most intensively right along this line. Now what these whales are doing is known as surface skimming, a modification of lunge feeding. The whales swim forward and open their mouths, taking in up to 5,000 gallons of water at a time, and they push it back out through their baleen, filtering out the krill and fish trapped inside. Their tongue feels around and pushes anything the whale doesn't want to eat out through the baleen, and then moves the food to the back of the throat to be swallowed. You may be wondering why a humpback bothers with such small prey items, when there's bigger things like seals, sea lions, and porpoises in the same waters. What's interesting is that there are thousands of times more pounds of herring and krill in these waters than there are of bigger prey. These are what a population of whales this size needs to have to survive. That's why the humpback is adapted to feed on these smaller creatures. What you may not know is a humpback is restricted to feeding on small things. It can't eat anything bigger even if it wanted to. The throat of a humpback whale is only about the size of a grapefruit, making it impossible for it to eat anything larger than a small salmon. While this seems like a negative attribute, it's actually vital for the whale's survival, as these whales are not adapted to be able to consume large amounts of seawater. So to survive, they have a small, tight throat to squeeze out as much salt water as they can out of the food they eat. A larger throat would mean more salt water swallowed. These whales are incredibly good at finding food in the ocean, and also pretty good at not eating things they don't want to eat, but no one's perfect. As you can see in this video here, the whale accidentally got a mouthful of nasty surface scum instead of the tasty krill, so he carefully goes into reverse and blows it all back out again. He was able to find some really dense patches of krill though. All those brownish markings in the water are millions of krill swimming together. This basic technique is similar to how the whales usually feed at all depths of the water column. Swim forward, scoop up the prey, filter it out. They do like to trap their food when they can though. In this case, it's already trapped against the surface of the water. That's not always the situation. Sometimes the whales have to get creative. While most whales only know how to perform lunge feeding, some whales have learned a different technique. This is what's known as bubblenet feeding. By blowing a spiral of bubbles around the herring, the whales can corral them, force them into a tighter school, and drive them to the surface. Once the fish are trapped against the surface, they are easily caught in larger amounts than the whale could catch otherwise. This remarkable behavior is not something the whales know instinctively how to do. Rather, this is a learned behavior that their mother would have taught them how to do. Without those lessons as a calf, they never would have learned the intricacies of effective bubblenet feeding. What is truly extraordinary is when we see multiple whales working together cooperatively as a team to catch more herring. These teams of the same whales will meet up and work together summer after summer, chasing herring from Peril Straits to Glacier Bay and north past Lincoln Island. It takes a lot more herring to feed a group of whales than it does to feed a single one, so they have to cover much more territory to find those big schools of fish. The way these whales coordinate together underwater is nothing short of amazing. The water is far too murky for them to see each other, so they must rely on their other senses to know where the other whales are and on their communication to know what to do. Here are some clicks, grunts, squeals, and other sounds these whales make. While most of the time it can be pretty hard to understand what they're trying to say, when their whales are bubblenet feeding, their communications do follow a distinct pattern. Low, occasional grunts and clicks as they look for the herring, and then once some herring is found in a large enough school, one whale will take up the main role of singing and coordinating the rest. The song will get louder and more intense as the whales close in on the fish, and then right at the end, all the whales will join in and come bellowing towards their hapless prey. This extra noise only adds to the confusion and terror of the fish and makes it even harder for them to get away. A good question to ask might be, how do the bubbles trap the fish? Can't the herring just swim right through them? And the answer is yes, the herring are totally capable of swimming right through the walls of bubbles, but they don't because they are scared of them. The waters in Alaska are full of glacial silt, runoff from rivers and streams, plant plankton and animal plankton, all things that make the oceans here full of life, but also things that make it pretty hard to see. As a result, eyesight isn't the only way that herring and other fish can sense danger. When they can't see, they rely much more on pressure waves. When a big fish, or in this case a whale, swims forward, it pushes water in front of it. Small fish like herring can sense this and know to avoid it. However, big bubbles rising to the surface and splitting into smaller bubbles are quite terrifying to a herring because they too create a lot of vibration and pressure waves. So the herring don't swim through the bubbles because they don't know what they are. They just think that they are really dangerous. So instead, they pack in tighter and tighter and get chased towards the surface. The bubbles also sometimes help hide where the whales are, as the herring can't really sense anything past the bubbles. So when the whales suddenly come bursting out of nowhere, the herring just don't have a chance.